At the beginning of the film, a man talks about time and how time travel might be possible. Scientists believe that if we can control speed, we could travel through time. They suggest that moving at the speed of light might make this possible, but is it really? Can any aircraft or spacecraft ever reach such a speed in the future? Or is this just misinformation spread online? You may have heard that centuries ago, some saints could predict the future, and many believed they were actually time travelers. I know this because I have traveled through time myself. My name is Ying. I was born in 1591, and when I was 10, I became a guard for the king of the Ming state. Around that time, the Manchu ruler met with the king of the Nurchai state, and as a result, young boys in our village were sent to a training camp to become royal guards. During my training, I made 3 close friends, Cao, Yuzu, and Yunlun. In 1624, the 4 of us were sent on a journey to the west, which changed my life forever. During this journey, I met a monk who revealed the secret of time travel to me. He told me about a special device called the linga and a sacred mantra that could allow someone to travel through time. However, he warned me never to share this secret with anyone. At that time, our king was young and inexperienced in ruling the kingdom. Instead of giving him the linga, I entrusted it to Yunlun, believing he would keep it safe. However, Yunlun and Yusu ended up giving this time-traveling device to the king. Meanwhile, Cao and I were sent to the border to fight against the enemy army. But then, everything changed. The army chief falsely accused me of working with the Japanese to kill the justice minister's entire family. The king, believing I was responsible, decided to punish my village for my supposed crime. No matter how much I tried to prove my innocence, no one believed me. As a result, the entire village was massacred. This betrayal turned my closest friends into my worst enemies. Centuries passed, and 400 years later, I found myself in Hong Kong, a world completely different from the one I knew. I had no knowledge of modern life, but I was fortunate to meet a kind girl named May, who became my friend and helped me learn everything about the future. However, fate had one more cruel twist for me. My former friends, who had already traveled to the future before me, found me once again. Instead of reconciliation, they continued their grudge and fought against me. In the end, during one of our battles, I fell into the water and died. But I remembered what the monk had told me long ago. If I die a second time, I will come back to life. After this, we see policemen searching for Ying in the river, as people believed he was a mysterious figure. Among the officers were Ying's 3 former friends, who had now become policemen themselves. Later that night, Cao calls Yunlun and tells him, "I have found Ying. He is still alive." Hearing this, Yunlun immediately rushes to the location. However, upon arrival, he kills Cao. Yunlun then visits Yuzu, who has been locked away in a mental hospital. He tells Yuzu, "We don't need the time-traveling device anymore. Ying knows the mantra." As this happens, Ying's voice narrates in the background, explaining that his former friends finally came to him and admitted, "We made a mistake in judging you. Please forgive us. We stand with you now." They then gave him a new identity, one that fit this new era. But despite everything, Ying still longed to travel through time once again. He wanted to save his village and change history. Determined, Ying visits a library and reads a history book, where he learns that the king of the Ming state ruled for only 6 years before he died. Now Ying and Yunlun go to a cave where the linga is kept. But just as they arrive, Naizu also appears. Noticing Cao's absence, he asks, "Where is Cao?" Yunlun hesitates for a moment before finally saying, "He is dead." Now the 3 of them must travel back to their time, but Ying does not trust Yunlun. He insists, "I want to see his body." Sensing his secret is about to be exposed, Naizu grabs Mei and brings her there, holding a gun to her head. Yunlun turns to Ying and demands, "Tell me the mantra, and I will let Mei go." Now Yunlun forces Mei inside the orb and demands Ying to recite the mantra. Even though Ying doesn't want to, he has no choice. As he chants, the orb activates, and both Ying and Naizu are transported through time. As soon as they reach their past era, Ying turns to Mei and tells her, "I have to go back to my time to save my villagers." But Mei refuses to let him go alone, saying, "I'm coming with you." With that, they both enter the orb and travel through time together. However, instead of arriving directly at their intended location, they land on a moving train in another time period. On board, they witness a group of thugs harassing a couple. Seeing this, Mei immediately jumps in to defend them. But as the fight begins, more of the gang members show up. Ying and Mei team up, taking down the attackers one by one. After an intense battle, they finally defeat the gang and drive them off the train. With the train now safe, Ying and Mei climb to the top and use the orb to travel through time once again. This time they reach a mysterious place where they see the monk once more. Ying rushes to him and asks, "How can I save my villagers?" The monk looks at him seriously and warns, "To change the past, you must overcome great challenges." Despite the warning, Ying stands firm, declaring, "I am ready." The monk then gestures forward and says, "Ahead of you lie 2 paths. Each one will lead to a different outcome. Choose wisely." With those final words, the monk disappears, leaving Ying and Mei standing at the crossroads of fate. Ying chooses the right path, and Mei follows him. As they walk, Ying realizes they have arrived in the right time period. They ride a horse to his village, where the villagers and Ying's mother are overjoyed to see him after so many years. To celebrate his return, the villagers begin preparing for a festival. Ying introduces Mei to everyone, and they warmly welcome her. Meanwhile, Naizu informs Yunlun that Ying has come back to save the villagers. In response, Yunlun smirks and says, "Let him try. My plan is to take over the Ming kingdom. Once I do that, the whole world will be mine, and Ying won't be able to stop me." The next day, Ying meets with the village ruler and warns him, "We need to move all the villagers to the west. They are in danger here." But the ruler dismisses his warning, saying, "You must be mistaken. There is no danger." With that, he leaves without listening further. Disappointed, Ying returns home, but soon Cao arrives to meet him. Seeing Cao, Ying and Mei become tense, unsure if he is still their enemy. But instead of hostility, Cao smiles, happy to see Ying. Ying realizes that the friendship between them is not completely lost, even though all three of his former friends had turned against him after the village massacre years ago. Cao tells Ying, "I came to invite you. The justice minister has requested your presence at his house. Yunlun will be there too." Hearing this, Ying remembers the past. His village was attacked because the minister's family was murdered. He realizes, if the minister never dies, my village will never be destroyed, and history will change. Meanwhile, Yunlun and Naizu secretly meet with the leader of the Japanese army. Yunlun makes him an offer. "If you kill Ying's villagers, I will give you whatever you want." Tempted by greed, the Japanese leader agrees. This reveals the truth behind the massacre. It wasn't Ying's fault at all. Instead, it was Naizu and Yunlun who secretly allied with the Japanese and framed Ying, leading to the deaths of his people. That night, Ying goes to meet the justice minister, where he learns that Yunlun has married the minister's daughter. Meanwhile, Cao is returning home from the forest after catching a rabbit when he overhears the Japanese leader giving orders to his soldiers to kill Ying's villagers. As he watches closely, he also spots Naizu among them. At that moment, Cao realizes the truth. Naizu has betrayed them and is working with the Japanese. The justice minister informs Ying that the king's advisor has sent a message demanding that he hand over the linga and the mantra to Yunlun so that he can demonstrate its power before the king. However, Ying refuses, saying, "I will not give it to him. He will use it for evil." Angered, Yunlun threatens him, saying, "If you disobey the king's order, your villagers will be sentenced to death." Desperate to change history, Ying tries to warn the minister, saying, "I have seen the future. The king will be assassinated in a few years." But the minister takes this as an insult to the king, replying, "You have dishonored his majesty. You will be punished for this." He then calls for his soldiers, but to his shock, they are already loyal to Yunlun. The soldiers turn on the minister and kill him, betraying their own ruler. Yunlun then murders his own wife without hesitation and turns to Ying, threatening, "Give me the linga and the mantra, or your villagers will die again." But Ying stands his ground, replying, "No matter what happens, I will never give it to you." With that, he escapes from the palace. Meanwhile, in the Japanese camp, Cao sneaks in and confronts Naizu, demanding, "Why did you betray everyone?" Naizu attacks him, and after a fierce struggle, he overpowers Cao. In the end, he kills Cao with the leader's sword, silencing him forever. Back in the village, Mei is looking at a photo of Ying on her phone when suddenly the enemy soldiers attack. Arrows rain down on her, and she is hit, collapsing to the ground. In the chaos, the linga falls from her hand and lands somewhere unknown. The soldiers then launch a brutal assault on the villagers, slaughtering them one by one. Amidst the destruction, one of the soldiers stumbles upon the linga and picks it up, unknowingly holding the key to time itself. Ying arrives at the village and is devastated to see everyone dead. Among the wreckage, he finds Mei's phone and sees her lying injured nearby. Meanwhile, Naizu hands the linga to Yunlun, saying, "I killed Cao." Yunlun smirks and replies, "Good job." Determined to stop them, Ying and Mei travel to the king's court, where Yunlun, Naizu, and the Japanese leader are already present. The leader steps forward and taunts Ying, revealing, "I killed Cao and wiped out your village on Yunlun's orders." Furious, Ying attacks the leader, but before he can strike, Yunlun points a gun at him, warning, "Tell me the mantra or Mei dies." Ying bargains, saying, "Send Mei back to her time first, and then I'll tell you." But Mei refuses to leave. Without hesitation, Yunlun shoots Mei, then tells Ying, "If you want to save her, tell me the mantra. I'll let you use the linga to travel through time." With Mei's life at stake, Ying finally gives in and recites the mantra, activating the orb. As the portal opens, Ying and Yunlun step inside. Suddenly, the leader jumps in too, declaring declaring, "I want to travel through time as well." But Yunlun betrays him, saying, "I don't need you." A fight breaks out inside the orb, and in the struggle, the leader knocks Yunlun out of the portal, leaving only Ying and the leader inside. They land on the same train where Ying and Mei had first arrived, and an intense battle breaks out between them. Meanwhile, Yunlun, having overheard the mantra earlier, tries to recite it himself. However, he gets it wrong, causing Ying and the leader to be thrown into a mysterious realm while still fighting. The battle rages on, and soon they find themselves back on top of the moving train, locked in a fierce duel once again. As Yunlun struggles, he realizes something is wrong. "I recited the mantra, but the orb did not let me travel through time," he exclaims in frustration. Ying responds coldly, "That's because you betrayed us. You were working with the Japanese all along." Just then, Naizu reveals the truth to everyone, exposing Yunlun's treachery. At that moment, soldiers arrive and surround Yunlun, and the king himself appears. The king looks at Yunlun in disappointment and declares, "You have insulted me. You will be punished." But Yunlun refuses to surrender, shouting, "I do not believe in any king. I will become the ruler of this time." Before he can act, Naizu shoots him from behind, ending his ambitions. Meanwhile, Ying and the leader continue their battle, and once again, they are pulled into the mysterious realm. This time, the leader gains the upper hand, and in the final moments of their fight, he delivers a fatal blow to Ying. As Ying dies, his body vanishes, but suddenly he wakes up again, standing before the monk. The monk calmly reminds him, "I told you, when you die a second time, you will return to life." He then reveals the truth. "You chose the right path and reached your village, but history could not be changed. You can travel through time, but you cannot alter the past. Everything happened because of your actions, but the outcome remained the same." Shocked and frustrated, Ying asks, "Then what happens if I take the left path?" The monk simply replies, "I cannot tell you." Determined to uncover the truth, Ying walks toward the left path. As he steps forward, his voice narrates in the background, "Activating the orb was a mistake. No matter what I do, I cannot change what has already happened. But now I have made a new decision. Whoever learns about the orb must be eliminated. I will ensure that no one else discovers its existence, so the world never falls into chaos." Ying then returns to the mysterious realm, finds the leader, and finally slits his throat, ending the battle once and for all. With that, the movie comes to an end. The scene fades to black, and the narrator signs off. I hope you enjoyed this explanation. If you did, don't forget to like this video and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the next one. Until then, thanks friends.